requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the District Court.
Thank you. Next item is roll call.
Yes, sir. Bill Johnson?
Here.
Fox? Here. McKay? Here. Green?
Here.
Duell? Here. Here. Blick? Mr. Josh Blick? Absent. Nix? Here. Here. Foster? Here. Warren?
Here.
Joe Johnson?
Here.
Cindy Miles is absent. Hartman?
Here.
Cunningham?
Here.
Williams Bay?
Here.
Sir, I showed 2 absent and 12 in attendance.
Next item, we'll approve the prior MAPC meeting minutes of June 2nd. And we show Joe Johnson and Mr. Blick was not present.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. McKay, second by Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Abstain.
11-0-1. Now we'll go through the agenda. First item is item 2.1, 2022-00018, a lot split on Clark Addition. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Any commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers here want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that on consent. Next one's 2.2. Subdivision 2022-00018. Final plat, Eagle Ridge Estates. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Any commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. Item 2.3 has been withdrawn. So the next one's item 2.4, subdivision 2022-00027. Final plat of R.D. Woods. I just want to make a statement. I received an email from that the easements that the applicant or agent requested not to have on the north and east of this, staff is okay with that. Is there anybody on the commission want to hear that case? Any commissioners that are virtual want to hear that case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear that case? Anybody virtual want to hear that case? Take that on consent. Next one's 2.5 subdivision 2022-00028. One-step final plat. Cross Point, third edition. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Any commissioners virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case?
Yes, I would like to,
Could you repeat your name again?
yes, my name is Dennis McHugh.
Can't make it out.
Dennis McHugh.
Okay, we will hear case 2.5. Next one's 2.6, subdivision case 2022-00029. One-step final plat, Johnson Flat Edition. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Any commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent.
Mr. Chairman, I need to abstain from item 2.2. It's in my neighborhood.
Okay? So let's not vote on that.
Mr.
Do
Chairman,
I have a motion to approve 2.1,
Uh,
2.4?
Director has a.
Bill.
Director
Go
has a
ahead.
comment.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, but I believe we've got an update on 2.3. Neil, do you want to provide an update on that one?
Yes, 2.3 should be considered today. There's no reason for it to be deferred.
Okay. Well, anybody on the commission want to hear 2.3? Any commissioners virtual want to hear 2.3? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear 2.3? Anybody virtual want to hear 2.3? We'll take that on consent.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 2.2.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. Green, second by Ms. Foster. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And one
Abstaining.
abstaining.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
11-0-1.
to make a motion to approve items 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.6.
Second.
Got a motion approved by Mr. Green, second by Mr. Warren. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, now we're going to go to public hearings. Vacation case 2022-00016. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Anybody, any commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Say no, we'll take it on consent. Next one's vacation case 2022-00017. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case?
I have a staff.
Any commissioners virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chamber want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case?
Got a staff question on 3.2.
Okay? You just got a question of them?
Yeah, I just have a question. We don't need to hear the whole case.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that, were you able to go across the street and see if you could find anything on that vacation that is shown on the plat that was that we're vacating now, but it was also vacated in 1957. Were you able to find anything
No, I
at all?
have not.
You didn't, okay,
No, sir.
okay. Kind of surprising that it was on the face of the plat and there was no record of it over there.
I realize that, and I have not been able to find a vacation order that, or ordinance that has been recorded.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Look for a motion for item 3.1, 3.2.
So moved.
You made it? Motion by Mr. Green, second by Mr. Warren. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All the years I've been on the commission, I don't think I've ever seen this many alike items on the agenda in my
Oh,
life.
I know, there's 6 of them.
So with that, 4.1, 2022-00011. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Any commissioners virtual want to hear this case? Is there anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. 4.2, 2022-00012. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? That on consent. The next one's conditional use 2022-00013. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to hear it? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. Next one's 2022-00014. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to hear it? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. Item 4.5, 2022-00015. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case?
I have a question.
Let's go, I'll go ahead and go on through that. 4.6, conditional use 2022-00016. Any commissioners want to hear this case? Commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Take it on consent. 2022-00017. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to hear it? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? We'll take that on consent. 4.8's been deferred. The next one's 4.9, 2022-00028. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? I think we're going to hear that one. All right, let's go back and ask your question on 4 or 5 if you just got a question. Let me ask, was there anybody virtual that wanted to speak on that item?
I would like,
Okay, we'll hear that case.
okay.
We're gonna back up then, or let's take a motion to approve the consent ones.
So moved.
Joe Johnson, that would be item 4.1 through 4.4.
2.
4.6 through 4.7.
Yes, sir.
Okay, second by Mr. Warren. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Go ahead.
Neil Straw, Planning Staff, item 2.5 is the Cross Point Third Edition. This is located on the southeast corner of 21st Street North in Greenwich. This encompasses 11 lots. The zoning is LC Limited Commercial. This is a replat of the Cross Point Second Edition, and it includes the vacation of Bristol Street, which you can see on the zoning map right here. Next slide, please. Next slide. Per item A of the staff report, Public Works is requiring an extension of water along with various utility easements. Item E regarding drainage. I was in contact with City Stormwater this morning, and he informed me a drainage report is still needed. He anticipates that will be approved shortly, and the plat will definitely be ready for City Council. So we could approve the plat today, subject to that condition. Per item F regarding access controls, 5 openings along 21st Street, including three right-in, right-out openings, and 3 access openings along Greenwich Road, including 1 right-in, right-out opening. Those access controls have been approved by traffic. I should have mentioned there's also a CUP associated with the plat, and we'll need a cross-lot circulation agreement per item K in accordance with that CUP. I believe the CUP is on the next slide. And we'll also need a CUP adjustment to match the lots in the plat so the parcels line up. And finally, item Z, Evergy is requesting additional easements. Any questions for staff?
Any questions, staff? Mr. Green, did you have a question?
No, it wasn't me, it was somebody that was online that had a question on this case.
Any questions of staff? Thank you, Neil. Applicant or?
Yeah, my name is Dennis McHugh.
Sir, could you wait? We got, let's.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought this was zoning 28.
Oh, you didn't want to hear this case?
No, I was identifying zoning 28. I thought this was it. I apologize to the commission.
Okay. I guess we'll look for a motion on 2.5.
So approve. Second?
Got a motion approved by Warren, second by Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, is the next one, oh, go ahead, Scott.
Yes, sir. Sorry, one quick question. I just want to check and see. Has Commissioner Josh Blick joined us? Josh Blick, are you online? Okay, I'm sorry, sir. I thought I might have heard his voice, so thank you.
Next item is 4.5,
The
right?
text said he was on. Yeah.
Next case is 4.5, 2022-00015.
Good
I
afternoon,
just-
everyone.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a staff question on this one.
Wasn't there somebody that wanted to hear this? Okay.
Yeah, I realize that the aerial photographs that we get that show lot lines on them may or may not be 100% accurate. But I am concerned that the two maps that have been submitted, it looks like the accessory apartment may be encroaching on the adjoining property. And I guess the question that I'm getting at is, do we require a survey to be done when they come in for the permitting process for this accessory apartment?
I can't speak to that at the moment.
With this being in an existing structure, we typically don't require a survey. Should have been reviewed when this structure was built with any type of building permit to ensure that it wasn't encroaching. It's likely that I believe one of the conditions is that it has to, that the applicant shall obtain all applicable permits, including building, health, and zoning. So it was determined that a building permit was not obtained for the construction of the accessory structure that it's going to be in. That would be in violation of this, and they wouldn't be able to move forward until the structure is in compliance with all codes. So one, they have to pull a building permit to do any type of remodel in the inside, but if it's determined that the building that's existing, that the accessory apartment would be in, is not up to code, with the understanding it potentially may have been built prior to the existing zoning. All that to say, one of the conditions is that it has to adhere to all codes. And so at the time of building permit, if it's determined that the building that is in is not in compliance with the codes, then the accessory apartment cannot be built until the property is brought up to standards.
I guess it begs the question, how will the building permit people know whether this property encroaches on an adjoining property? I don't want to
Right.
keep this going forward if it initially isn't even on its property without the
Right.
proper.
My understanding is when they go to pull a building permit to do any construction internally, the property will be reviewed and it would be determined whether or not a building permit was pulled for the accessory structure that it's going in.
Survey would have been required at
Right.
that time?
In order to build an accessory structure, they have to submit, their building plans showing it in relation to property lines. And if it was going to be encroaching into setbacks or anything like that, they wouldn't grant a permit to build the accessory structure. What I don't know is when that accessory structure was built and if it predated the existing zoning.
Mr. Johnson, may I comment? Are you done, Mr. Green? I work with aerials a lot, and if you look at this one, it's not just that one parcel of land that appears to be offset. It's every one on the block appears to be offset about the same amount. You can see where the fence lines are and I don't think everybody on this block has a shared driveway. To me, that's a pretty good indication that it's just parallax in the aerial and it's not really encroaching.
Yeah, it appears that,
And that's why I prefaced my question with the comment about how aerial photography and the laying of lot lines on those aerials is subject to question.
Exactly that.
it also appears the driveway is off of that lot line that goes to the garage, so I got a feeling that this is not accurate. Any other questions? Mr. Duell?
I drove by and looked at that property, and it appeared to me what it was a garage back there that they want to convert into an accessory apartment. And I would say parenthetically, there's a lot of code violations in that immediate area there. Not that it affects this case, but there's some question marks there, I think.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Look for a motion to approve. What's the pleasure? Motion by Mr. McKay,
Second.
second by Ms. Foster. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, next item is 4.9, zone case 2022-00028.
Good afternoon, everyone. Christina Reith, Associate Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. This is case number ZON 2022-00028. The applicant is Dwayne Dugan, and the agent is the Baughman Company. This parcel of land is 11 acres, and it's currently zoned IP Industrial Park. They are requesting a zone change to TF3 two-family residential and to remove the protective overlay number 247 from the subject site. It is generally located 1/4 mile east of South 119th Street West and 1/2 mile south of West 31st Street South. And they're proposing this zone change and removal of protective overlay for the future development of duplexes, and staff recommends approval. So I want to turn your attention to the concept plan. So the attached concept plan proposes to extend West 35th Street South as a cul-de-sac and plat 30 lots and 2 reserves. 30 platted lots would create up to 60 dwelling units if all lots were developed as duplexes. And Harvest Ridge currently has 2 points of access, which satisfies the code requirements for the development of 30 lots. If determination of any additional access points are required, or the determination if any access points are required will be done at the time of platting. As it is illustrated on the current concept plan, because this is a total of 60 units, the length of the cul-de-sac exceeds what is permitted by the subdivision regulations. However, the final layout will be determined at the time of platting. Just a little bit of background on the protective overlay number 247, just some provisions here. As it currently is, a building setback of 100 feet shall be provided where the property line abuts residential zoning on the north and west property line. And this is designed to provide sort of a buffer between the industrial uses and the residential uses. And the following uses shall be prohibited: an auditorium or stadium, animal care, convenience store, recycling processing center, restaurants with drive-through or in-car service, tattooing, body piercing, so on and so forth. And then the preferred access shall be provided by the local streets or roads that intersect with the arterial streets. And the applicant is requesting to have the protective overlay removed from this portion of the larger parcel to eliminate the 100-foot setback and to connect the new housing development with the adjacent existing housing development. However, the protective overlay still applies to the remaining adjacent land that is zoned IP Industrial Park. So there will remain a 100-foot setback between the proposed residential properties and the proposed potential industrial development. A little bit of case history on this. Back in 2010, staff approved the zoning change from SF20, single-family residential in unincorporated Sedgwick County, to IP Industrial Park, and established the protective overlay number 247. Then the land was annexed into the city of Wichita in 2012. And then in October of 2013, the protective overlay was established. So the request to rezone the property is in conformance with the community investment plan. The property is located within the Wichita city limits in both new residential and new residential employment mix areas. Due to the proximity of higher intensity business uses, residential housing types within this area will likely be of larger density. Staff feels that duplexes bring diversity to residential developments typically found in large urban municipalities, as well as a higher density to a new residential area. And so the staff recommends approval based on many findings, some of which is a suitability of the subject property for the uses of which it's been restricted. The property is presently zoned IP Industrial Park, but the land is currently undeveloped, as is the adjacent IP Industrial Park property to the north. Because there are no heavy industrial uses to the area on-site or nearby, this site is appropriate for the development of duplexes. I did receive some comments since I've been writing this report. I received 3 alone this morning from the neighbors who are mostly concerned with the development. One of the concerns is that this addition will not have its own entrance, so even though it's not going to be associated with the adjacent Harvest Ridge addition, the traffic is already high, and the additional traffic will raise safety issues for adults and children of the community. And there's a concern for how first responders will get to this area. And there's an HOA at the Harvest Ridge addition, and some people feel that that the people who will be in the duplex development will either have to contribute or provide other access. They should not, or provide other access. I got another comment about additional traffic. There's concerns of diminishing property values, crime and vandalism, and possibly a separate entrance for residents. And then I received another comment this morning, potential for increased crime, potential for decrease in property resale values. Residences in the back of the neighborhood, they feel already experience some drainage issues. And there was another concern about property taxes, HOA dues, and the entrances converging into one street. And I will now stand for comments.
Any questions?
Questions and comments.
The staff?
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Foster.
I'd just like to clarify at least one thing, maybe two. The streets in the Harvest Ridge subdivision are public streets supported by public tax dollars. Is that not correct? They're not
That's correct.
supported by HOA fees. And the second one is the city is not responsible for enforcing HOA agreements, correct?
That is correct. That is a civil matter.
Thank you very much. That's all I asked.
Secondly, this is a zoning case. This will be platted, right?
Yes.
And the drainage and entrances and all that will be discussed at the time that it's platted. Today, we're just dealing with a zoning case, so
Correct.
thank you. Applicant or agent, please. Give us your name, address, you got 10 minutes.
Chris Rose with Baughman Company, agent for the applicant. The applicant agrees with staff comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we have any questions of the agent? See none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Who would all like to speak on this item? Please come forward, give us your name and address, and you got 3 minutes.
Well, my name's Jacob Lee. My address is 11131 West Hollywood. I'm the house there towards the very end where the street will be extended. I guess, I don't know if this gentleman will be able to answer it, but I'm curious what Reserve A is. If that could be provided to me in the plat that's given.
Could you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, I didn't.
Reserve A on this here, what that would represent? It's a reserve on the map.
Again, that's just something to give when it's platted, that could be totally changed.
Okay. Well, I guess the only thing I would have I just second the concerns that have already been given.
And we'll have the applicant address your question.
Okay, I
You
appreciate
have
it.
rebuttal time.
And that's really all I have, is just to
Thank you,
second
sir.
the concerns.
Any
and-
questions of the speaker? Yes, not, thank you.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Mona Dewey, 3708 South Westgate. I live in the Harvest Ridge. I second the concern for safety and traffic. I live at the three-way intersection there. The existing traffic is very heavy. A concern for safety, it's right by the neighborhood playground. And then also just what it would do to our property tax.
Anything else?
just what you said about its public streets and everything. I guess I'm not really sure, when specials are being paid, those are for the roads and the drainage and everything that are paid for that neighborhood. Is that what special are used for? When a neighborhood pays specials?
In some cases, they're paid by the applicant. Sometimes it's paid by a large on assessment. Just depends on what street it is and how that is, but if it's a public street, it's a public street.
Right.
Scott, do you want to add anything?
Sure. And I can cover questions at the end too, but the special assessments are where the infrastructure is put in place, and then the initial cost of putting that infrastructure in place is paid for by the people in the special improvement district. However, the long-term maintenance of it would be funded by the city at large. So it is a public street. It's a way of financing the initial installation of that infrastructure.
So would you say the people living in Harvest Ridge have initially financed the infrastructure of our streets in our neighborhood?
Yes, and that's the way that it's set
It
up.
is public, but some of us are still paying our specials.
That's true for your neighborhood and true for a lot of other neighborhoods.
Right, okay, that's all I have. Thank
Any
you.
questions, speaker? Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Michelle Spiker, 10622 West 35th Court South. I would echo all the concerns of the others. The safety is the biggest concern with the increase in traffic. It's a young neighborhood with a lot of young families and pets, and the additional traffic is a huge safety concern with everything going back into that one road back there. Not just here to have problems. The solution, we need additional entrances for the proposed addition. Not against development. We just need to consider what's already there and the safety of the residents and what's there, and propose alternative solutions to the proposal that's currently there.
Any questions, speaker? Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this item?
I would like to bring up a concern.
Hang on one second. We got one more, I think, here in the commission chambers. Then we'll let you speak. Go ahead.
Hi, I am Asia Fulcher. I live at 11127 West Hollywood. I'm also on that back street on the other side of, I live right next door to Jacob here, who just spoke. So my biggest concerns are going to echo everyone else's concerns. While using the two entrances to Harvest Ridge as the points of access technically satisfy fire code requirements, both of them converge into one street. So if there was a need to evacuate either our addition or the duplexes, there would be a backup of traffic essentially, because there's only one street that would be the main artery into that neighborhood. Drainage has been mentioned as well. We do have a drainage issue in our backyard. I don't know what the impact would be with construction and everything like that, what would change. Traffic, already a traffic flow issue. Construction vehicles, obviously, that's not really a zoning thing at this point, but those are just some concerns that I have. So I guess my biggest question is what makes it beneficial for those to be the points of access for this new development? Because it's kind of at a pretty big expense to us. So that's all I got.
Any questions, speaker? Thank you. Anybody else here in the commission chambers want to speak on this item? Okay, now we're going to go to the gentleman that's virtual. Give us your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Dennis McHugh. I live at 10811 West 35th Street South. My property is located one property north of the three-way intersection of Westgate, Hollywood, and 35th Street. Many times I have had to practice extra caution in backing out of my driveway because the configuration of that intersection is more a curvature of the roadway than an actual T-bone intersection. You add 60 households to that already dangerous situation, and there's going to be something bad happening. We've tried to see about getting the street reconfigured to a straight T, and it can't happen. So one other option we were thinking of is the extension of 34th Street, just a short extension west and south to come into the subdivision that's being added in the reserve area. If that can't be done, then another option we would ask for is a traffic study for that intersection, possibly the placement of stop signs.
Anything else, sir?
No, I know this is not an easy matter to overcome, but you have to have some kind of a solution available or there's going to be something bad happening at that intersection. It has already several times. And adding 60 more households of cars, it's not going to be a pleasant situation.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? Hearing none, thank you. Is there anybody else virtual want to speak on this item?
I would like to speak, please, sir.
Name and address, please.
My name is Amy Branda. I'm at 11123 West Hollywood Street. I also would be affected because I am on that back side of the neighborhood where these duplexes would be going up. And I just want to echo the same concerns that everybody else is having as far as drainage, the traffic, the construction, and the safety of the people that are already living there along with their children and pets. I think that there's better options to take care of this. And I just really wanted to echo what everybody else has already said.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anybody else virtual want to speak on this item?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Name and address.
My name is William Gray. My name is William Gray. I live at 3595 South Shefford. It's the northwest corner right there at 35th and Shefford. Again, I'm not against development, but I am against duplexes, and I do think that this is a poor zoning plan. Again, with the choke points at the south entrance on K42 and the east entrance off of Mays, if you extend that to 119th, then you allow access for that development over there. You say that this is a completely different development, but you're attaching it to a current resident development. If you're going to develop it, I believe you should do single occupant dwellings instead of duplexes, because with duplexes, there is a more chance of higher crime with domestic violences, burglaries, and everything else. Also with construction site burglaries as this goes on. We already have road issues with our south entrance with potholes, and construction vehicles will cause more damage to that, as well as, like I said, creating choke points on those entrances. We already have a hard enough time with traffic, and I will be very disappointed if something happens to my children because of this poor zoning plan with the only 2 exits from our development.
Anything else?
And we were never notified of this zoning development until they put the application sign up, and we were notified by our neighbors. We never received anything in the mail about this, and the development is going to be directly to the west of our residents.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker?
I don't have a question for the speaker, but I have a question for staff. When you send out the letters of notification, how far in advance do you send those notifications out? And are they sent to property owners, or are they sent to renters?
They are sent to property owners, it is a state requirement that we send them out a minimum of 20 days prior to the application. With this being 11 acres, it was likely a 500-foot radius around the subject property. So property owners within 500 feet got a letter in the mail. And it mails out, we actually put it in the mail about 23 days prior so that they have the option of possibly getting it in their mailbox 20 days prior to the public hearing.
And then, do you have record, I know you have record, do you have it there in front of you, how many mailings were actually sent out on this?
I don't have it in the front of me right now, but I can look it up.
Thank you.
Is there any other speakers virtual who want to speak on this item?
I have a question for staff.
Can I-
When that road is...
I would.
Hang on
go
one
ahead.
second. Who's asking the question?
First, can I have a rebuttal to that? I am not a renter of my residence. I actually own it. Me and my wife built this residence back in 2017, and we still weren't notified of it. And we're literally just to the east of the development because like I said, we stay at the corner. We're on the northwest corner of Shefford and Hollywood where they would extend 35th Street. So we would be within that radius because our neighbors, Jacob and that are directly to the south and Asia, who is to the south of them, were notified of that, and we weren't.
All right, thank you.
We'll double check the ownership list to ensure that the ownership we received had his address on it. Sir, just one more time, if you could you verify your address for me, please?
3595 South Shefford, and my name is actually taken off my property just due to the type of employment work that I do, but my wife's name is listed on the property as well.
Okay, I've got your address information, and I will double check, and we'll likely have to follow up with you offline after the meeting once we have those records in front of us, but we'll confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Williams-Bey?
Yes, I've got a question for staff. When that road is extended for the duplexes, is that done by special assessment also?
It depends. Special assessments is a tool that's available, but it doesn't mean that that's necessarily how it's going to be done.
Okay.
And a lot of that really will come down to the platting process in terms of where the road is, where it ties in. Is it a private street? Is it public street? There's a lot of variables that can go in.
Okay. This will be a public street though, right?
There's no guarantee that at this point.
Okay.
It really does come down to that platting process.
Okay.
Is there anybody else virtual want to speak on this item?
I would.
Give us your name and address.
Name is Darren Lawrence. My address is 10610 West 35th Court South. I live in the Harvest Ridge addition here.
Okay.
The comments I'd like to bring up echo a lot of what everyone has said, safety concerns. My biggest safety concern is with my children in school buses. During morning and afternoon rush hour, we do have at times quite a bit of a traffic jam in the neighborhood with school buses and stop signs. And we have had issues where cars will bypass those school bus stop signs. And so that is a huge concern for me because we do have children who cross those streets, and we're going to be looking to add 60 more homes to this neighborhood. And the other point I would like to bring out, everyone has said the current neighborhood has 2 access points, entrance and exit access points. And that is the east access point that lets out to Mays Road. The southern access point lets out to a county road that is not maintained by the county. It has had potholes on it for over 6 years. It is not looked at, is not maintained. And then in order to get out, you actually must exit out into what is a 4-lane divided highway. So for many residences, we really only have one entrance and exit, as letting in and out on a 4-lane highway is dangerous enough in and of itself. So really, we're going to add 60 more homes here that will let out to Mays Road.
Thank you. Is there anybody else, any questions of the speaker? Is there anybody else virtual want to speak on this item? Hearing none, we'll have the applicant, the agent come back. Did Mr. Blick show up? I thought it said.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I was on phone and then I just switched over on computer.
All right.
Chris Rose, a Baughman Company agent for the applicant. Just a couple of things. Most of the items that you heard tonight are going to be probably looked at during the plating process, but I know a lot of people are concerned about the drainage, which really is handled during the plating process. But the one question is on that Reserve A sketch that we did show, that's kind of the detention area at this point. It might get bigger. I don't see it really getting any smaller. Right now, currently, if you kind of look up there in that yellow line there in that box there is a detention area for the industrial. So we will look at all the detention or the drainage at that time during the plat. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, the
I have a
agent?
question. Ms. Joe, I have a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
Can a school bus make that turn in that cul-de-sac?
Yeah, because of the length of that cul-de-sac, the fire department allows us to do 2 or 3 different things. One of them is to increase the size of that turnaround to what their fire code would say is a 53-foot radius or a 38-foot turnaround. So if a fire truck can turn around, I'm assuming the bus can.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the agent? Guess not. Bring it back to the commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Second.
Got a motion approved by Mr. McKay, second by Ms. Foster. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Joe Johnson, was that you?
Yes.
Okay. So that was Blick there long enough to vote on this? So we got
Yeah, I was here.
12-0, 12-1, 12 in favor, 1 against.
Correct, sir.
Thank you. Is there any other non-public hearing items? Other
Move to
matters?
adjourn.
Other matters? Ms. Scott, you can go over the bylaws of the MAPC workshop discussion?
Yes, sir. And this is not for you all to make any large decision on your bylaws. This is rather to introduce it and to see about scheduling a meeting. What's come up recently, I guess, in the last 2 years is because of COVID, we've been operating with a virtual option for people to participate in meetings. In order to allow for that to work, we have had to publish the agendas with emergency meeting on them because we're doing it different than what the typical meeting procedures were, again, allowing for the virtual option. So what we would like to do is revisit the bylaws and see if you would like to include that virtual option. And if we can get those bylaws updated, that would allow us to take emergency meeting off of the agendas. A couple of other things that have come up because we have talked about this with the chair and vice chair also have taken it to advanced plans, and there was quite a bit of robust discussion at both. But at advanced plans, there were questions that I don't know if they were related to the bylaws, and they were about where would the MAPC like to continue meeting, what the participation options would look like. Should there be a virtual participation option? Should people be encouraged to turn their cameras on? Those kind of things. So there was quite a bit of dialogue, and I got out of that meeting, there was a sense that it would be good to have the full MAPC to have an opportunity to discuss it before you're considering taking action on it. So my question for you all today is, A, do you want to have a workshop so that you can discuss it and not have any pressure to take any action, but just have a robust discussion on it? And then number 2 is if you are willing to do that, I've got a date that I'd like to run by you to see if that would work for everyone. So those are the 2 things that I'd like to accomplish. I guess I should state for those who are on the subdivision committee that we do have a draft. I didn't bring that with me, but we'll distribute that after the meeting of draft bylaws that were considered by advanced plans. So I guess the first question for you all is, would you like to have a workshop to go over the draft bylaws?
You're suggesting that this would be separate from a normal MAPC meeting?
Yes. There's multiple ways it could be tacked on at the end of an MAPC meeting, or it could be scheduled. Maybe one idea was to do it, that came up at advanced plans, was to do it the morning of an MAPC meeting when there's not an advanced plans meeting. So generally about the second MAPC meeting of the month.
Never knowing what the agenda is going to look like and how lengthy it could be, it kind of makes sense to have a meeting that would be prior to, or a separate meeting, I guess, whenever that is.
I think that was the thinking, is then you get a certain time and a certain date. And if that was the case, if you were amenable to that, the one that I would propose would be July 21st in the morning. And then that way, because that's the first meeting of the month, we've got advanced plans. So that would be the second meeting of that month.
Chairman Johnson, I would just like to add the Advanced Plan Committee did look at the bylaws, and we had really considerable discussion lasting about an hour, a little over an hour, just on this topic. And so that issue of, is virtual participation something we want to keep permanently and make always possible? And then even the setting of the meeting. So looking at this room, how we have members who have to get up to come to the speaker, where possibly we could be in a room where everyone would have equal representation around the table. Those were things we thought were important for everybody to have a voice in. And there were some strong opinions, I think, on both sides for and against virtual participation from a standpoint of commissioner participation, as well as the participation of the public in the process. So those would be things to be thinking about. And I think in my mind and the committee's mind, it deserved the participation of everyone in the discussion and understanding of the rules governing our meetings and the processes, because there's a lot of background information there too that has to be considered.
Is the Reagan building, is it set up for virtual meetings?
Yes, on the second floor. So the MAPC conference room is set up for virtual meetings. And I appreciate the question because early in the COVID period, we were not set up for that and we couldn't. But we were able to purchase the technology and make those improvements.
I would make a motion that we have a special workshop for legal representation to explain the bylaws and the background of options available on July 21st, 10:30 in the Ronald Reagan building.
Second.
I'll be in Vegas. Got a motion to have the meeting on the 21st, a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Question. What time was that again? 10:30? 9:30?
10:30. 10:30.
And knowing that Mr. Green, at least one commissioner, has indicated they won't be able to attend, what we can do is send out the material well in advance so you'll have an opportunity to provide comments and feedback. The other thing that I do want to let you know is that I have followed up. We've met with an architect to talk about getting some ideas for different configurations, if there are any, for the MAPC conference room, but as well as other spaces in the Reagan building. The other thing that we're doing is talking with Tyler, who does the AV system here, about is there anything that could possibly be done to provide better access for folks who are kind of in the audience area.
I would assume that where we met in City Hall, that's probably all gone.
The equipment,
Upstairs.
I understand, was taken out, but I wouldn't necessarily rule out using that space. Maybe it's something we need to look into as an option.
Anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
Not? We're adjourned.